Hello and welcome back to Morbid Cases. If you're new here and you love true crime, feel free to subscribe to see a new dark and disturbing case each week. And today's case takes us back to 1987 when a 15-year-old girl named Shannon Olson left her home to run an errand and never returned. After being bound with her own clothing and viciously killed, Shannon's body was found floating in a pond not far from where she disappeared. Now, this case isn't one of corruption like a few of my other videos. This case was investigated as much as it could be investigated. What intrigued me about this unsolved murder is the fact that Dennis Rader, or known as BTK, lived nearby. He killed others in the same area, and he displayed a similar method of operation. Now, if you don't live in the US, then you may not know of Dennis Rader, but he went on to be known as one of America's most notorious and disturbing serial killers. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to emphasize that this is not a story on BTK. That's been done about 1,000,002 times. Okay, this story is strictly about Shannon Olson's murder. I won't be going into too much detail on the crimes BTK was accused of. If you're more interested in hearing about Dennis Rader, I've linked a few things in the description box that you can check out. So Shannon Olson was just 15 years old in 1987. She was funny, energetic, she had lots of friends, and she was just figuring out what she wanted in life and what she wanted to become. She could also be rebellious, like most teens, but was very loved and supported by her family. It was on Halloween night that she was supposed to meet up with a friend and have a sleepover after trick-or-treating. And before meeting up with her friend, Shannon decided that she wanted to walk to a shop close to her house and grab something to drink. This would be the last time that anyone saw Shannon alive. Now, it's unknown where exactly Shannon was walking to, but we do know that there was a market called Dillon's, which is now a Quick Trip gas station, and it was located at the end of Shannon Street on South Hydraulic Avenue. Well, after she didn't return for some time, family grew worried and reported her missing. A few days later, her body was found by two fishermen floating in a pond near East 29th Street and North Hydraulic Avenue. In the days leading up to her body being found, it's noted that police didn't expect the worst for Shannon since she had been known to leave her home for a few days at a time, but she would always eventually return. But this time was different. She had plans. She didn't take hardly anything with her, definitely not enough that she would need if she wasn't planning on coming back. At Shannon's crime scene, it's reported by law enforcement that there were signs of a struggle. Whatever evidence this was not released to the public. But usually if we're talking about signs of a struggle in a grassy pond area, it's most likely evidence that was found on her body or around her body. I did read in another report that Shannon's body appeared to have been dumped where it was found, possibly due to a lack of blood at the crime scene. Shannon was found bound with her hands tied behind her back with her own bra. She'd been stabbed over 40 times in the chest. And to add to the devastation, her killer also cut her throat straight across from ear to ear. With this clearly being overkill, police suspected Shannon was killed by someone she knew, which is what many of us believe. But statistically, overkill cases are just as likely to be committed by strangers. And people like BTK, who suffer with antisocial personality disorder, are also more likely to commit random acts of violence, including overkill. They also didn't find anyone who wanted to hurt Shannon. When she was murdered, BTK was operating in and around the Wichita area. Dennis had killed Vicky Wiggerly in 1986 and Dolores Davis in 1991. While he doesn't admit to killing anyone else in that span of time, he does admit to stalking a girl or woman during that time period. In 1987, Dennis was working at an ADT company. The location that he worked at the time was only a few blocks from Shannon's house. On his lunch breaks, Dennis said that he used to go to Dillon's Market, the same one that was on Shannon's road, and it's there on his lunch breaks that he would stalk females. Now, he never gave details as far as what these women looked like or their names, but he admits to being in that area and prowling for victims. Now, there are a lot of people who don't think that BTK had anything to do with this. And I'm not saying that he did, but I'm also not saying that he didn't either. And I'm not the only one that feels this way. And a lot of people say, but BTK admits to crimes and this one he didn't admit to. So you're saying that sadistic serial killers always tell the truth? That's a bunch of malarkey. He's running on the loose for 31 years, mind you, and he only killed 10 people? I mean, he's a psychopath. Psychos love to tell their story, which he has. They love to brag, which he has. But they also love keeping secrets. I'm sure that it fills some sort of gratification that he has, being the only one who knows that there are more victims. We've seen this before. Ted Bundy, Randy Alcala, Robert Hansen. Ted Bundy took the truth with him. It's not out of pocket to say that there are other BTK victims out there. That's all I'm saying. Other people say, but Shannon's cause of death does not fit Rader's method of killing. Okay, first of all, dude's got like 4 of them. He strangled, he suffocated, he hung another one, and let's not forget he did in fact use a knife on his 5th known victim, Catherine Bright. Yes, Shannon's murder was indeed overkill, unlike Catherine Bright's murder, but Shannon was also bound with her own clothing, like some of BTK's victims, and she was found in water, just like Dolores Davis. I also didn't find anything to say that Shannon was assaulted, which is relevant because neither were BTK's victims. Shannon was found nude, but a few of BTK's victims were also found nude or partially nude. Dennis showed no regard for age when he committed his crimes, as evidenced by the fact that he murdered an 11-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy. It would be absurd to assume that he wouldn't harm a 15-year-old girl. The last thing that I noted in relation to BTK and Shannon was that we don't have DNA evidence linking them together, but BTK only left DNA on a few of his known victims, not all of them. One investigator on Shannon's case has always believed that Shannon was killed by someone she knew, and he says that she had to have left with this person because the location she was found wasn't within walking distance. Have you not heard of kidnapping? I mean, wherever Shannon's last sighting was, we have 0 CCTV footage and 0 witnesses. My question would be, wouldn't it be more logical to say that this was done by some random weirdo with a fetish rather than it being a crime of passion? It just fits better. I mean, and it doesn't even have to be BTK. It could be another weirdo they just haven't caught yet. In my view, BTK is the most likely suspect in Shannon Olson's murder case. Why? Because they never had any other suspects, just like 2 other unsolved cases in Wichita. Mary Krupper, a 47-year-old woman who was found dead from an overkill of stab wounds to her neck, face, chest, and abdomen, and she was found in September of 1979. And then Valeria Wage, a 56-year-old woman who was found December 31st, 1982, and her cause of death was strangulation. Another interesting thing I found was that the Zodiac Killer, another infamous but never captured serial killer, had sent a letter to police talking about how he was going to go out prowling for a kitty to kill on Halloween night 1987, and that they should be on the lookout for a body. But what they did with this information is unknown. If it wasn't Dennis Rader or the Zodiac Killer, then I believe we 100% have another serial killer out there who was never captured. There is no way that you kill a 15-year-old girl in that manner and leave her in that manner and then never do it again. And sadly, there's always another one just like this. There's always another case just like this. Although frustrated, I understand the challenges that police face in solving random acts of violence, especially to this degree. And the lack of resources and evidence only adds to the difficulty. It's really tough. We have this information, but we can't do anything with it, and we can't arrest anyone based on hearsay. We just have to hope and pray that someone eventually does come forward. Now, Shannon's murder file is not completely frozen. Investigators still open it every once in a while, and they're still looking for answers. So anyone with information related to Shannon Olson's unsolved murder is asked to call the Wichita Police Department at 316-268-4111, or you can call WPD Cold Case Detective Addie Perkins at 316-268-4379.